I'm Jodi Schafer with HRM Services. Many of you may recognize my face, and if not my face, my voice. Perhaps you've attended one of my leadership trainings or use me as your trusted resource for HR-related projects, questions, or issues. We're doing something new this year, and actually this was scheduled to launch in 2019. We're calling it HR Hot Topics, the most informative 5 minutes of your month. So this is an episode where we'll come on and we'll give you updates on what's going on with employment law or employment-related issues to help guide you as you work with your teams. And as I said, this was slated to start in 2019, but actually we're coming to you a month early because we have two very big issues that have just occurred in the state of Michigan. We want to make sure that you're well prepared for this. So I'm going to go ahead and dive right in. Some of you may have been following two initiatives that were originally the result of a ballot proposal. So let's start with paid sick leave first. You may remember that there were several concerns employers had around the original language for paid sick leave. And this new law, which I've got links to both of these amendments, so you can see what the original language was and what the amended language is. Those links are included in the body of the email message that contains this video. So on the paid sick leave side, some of the key changes are that first and foremost, these regulations are only going to apply to employers with 50 or more employees. So I know that was a big concern for many of my clients. So if you are a small employer, if you have less than 50 employees, none of these mandated paid sick leave rules apply to you. Now, for those of you that have over 50 employees, this new language does apply to you, and there are some changes to it. So first and foremost, it's only going to apply to your non-exempt employees, not your salaried workforce, but your non-exempt employees. And employees has been further defined to be more in line with the FLSA definition of that. So not your temporary employees, not your seasonal folks, not your independent contractors. So we've really tightened up that definition of employee. Those employees, those non-exempt employees, can accrue up to 1 hour of paid sick leave for every 35 hours worked. So that's a change from the original language as well. And that's capped at 1 hour per week. So if you have employees that are regularly working more than 35 hours in a week, closer to 40, maybe even 45, that earning is capped at 1 hour per week, and the annual cap is 40 hours. So regardless of how many hours your non-exempt employees are working throughout the year, they won't accrue more than 40 hours of paid sick leave in a given year. Another change is that those hours are not required to roll over from year to year, and the employer is not required to pay out for any unused time. So a couple changes there as well. Maybe the biggest thing to take away from this is that if you are a large employer, in other words, you have more than 50 employees, you are presumed to be in compliance with these new changes if you already have a paid time off program that allows at least 40 hours every year. And that can be a combination of sick time, vacation time, PTO, right? Both of those. So you're assumed to be in compliance if you already have a bank that does that. You don't have to create separate banks for this. This is going to also require that your employees follow your usual and customary notification and documentation requirements. So whatever that is in your handbook, that's going to be what your employees have to follow. You don't have to change those. And employees can use this time in 1 hour increments or any other fraction or increment of time that you've already spelled out in your handbook. So again, the idea was to put this in alignment with policies you may already have. Now, this will go into effect no later than March of 2019. So you want to start planning for that now. And you can bet that it will most likely be challenged in court. The folks that pushed this ballot initiative through and got the signatures are not happy that these amendments have been enacted. They believe that this was the voice of the people and that the changes that were made were significant. And so you can expect that this will be something that they take up with the courts. But for now, this is the law and this is what we will go by. The second one, the minimum wage law, is not quite as meaty as the paid sick leave, but I want to make sure I touch on that too, because again, this was one that was passed by the legislature in September, had gone through a couple amendment cycles within the House and the Senate, and it ultimately ended up as Senate Bill 1171, and that was also signed by Governor Snyder late last week. The original language had minimum wage increasing to $12 an hour by 2022, and it was slowly minimizing and then ultimately eliminating the tip credit. The new language lengthens the amount of time that minimum wage will increase. Ultimately, minimum wage will cap out at $12.05, but that's by 1/1 of 2030, not 2022. So it lengthens that timeline. Again, in the links on the website, it shows you that progression. The one you need to know about is that it's going to increase from currently $9.25, which is where it will go in January of 2019. In March of 2019, it's going to increase to $9.45 and then follow a schedule from there. So that's one change. The other change with this is that it will not eliminate the tip credit. The tip credit will remain 38% of minimum wage, with the understanding that the difference there between the tip credit and minimum wage is either made up in actual tips or what the employer contributes so that the employee is made whole at the end of that. But that 38% will continue to be the tip threshold. That's not going away. And this is no longer tied to inflation. So in 2030, when it's $12.05, which is the max, under the new table, it will not increase beyond that under this law. It's no longer tied to inflation. So those are the two big changes that have happened with Governor Snyder's signature. Questions, but certainly you can always reach me. That's Jodi Schafer at hrmservices.biz, or check us out on our new website, which I'll tell you more about in January, along with some other changes we're going to be doing. The new website is www.workwithhrm.com.